So the idea of Cyberpunk 2077 on Nintendo Switch 4 years ago, that would have been a punchline. Hell, even 1 year ago it still would have been. But here we are in 2025, and I'm about to tell you why this might be one of the most important gaming experiences you can have right now. Now, we all remember the launch, the bugs, the broken promises, the refunds. CD Projekt Red became a cautionary tale overnight. But something interesting happened. They kept working. 4 years of patches, expansions, and genuine care have transformed this from a promising disaster into something genuinely special. And now with the Switch 2 version finally here, complete with features that were supposedly going to be delayed, we're looking at what might be CDPR's final statement on their Cyberpunk vision. So today, let's dive into 15 reasons why you should give Night City another chance or experience it for the first time. And if you are new here, consider subscribing. I cover the best of Switch every single day. And let me know in the comments too, did you play Cyberpunk at launch? Have you been playing it on Switch 2 already? What do you think? Or have you simply been waiting for the right version to come along? So you play as Fee, a merc in Night City chasing a quick payday and a name. But early in the story, a job goes wrong and you end up with a stolen experimental chip embedded in your head. It doesn't just store data, this one stores a person. That person, Johnny Silverhand, rockstar, terrorist, icon, ghost. And now, he's sharing your mind. Cyberpunk 2077, it isn't your typical chosen one, saves the world narrative. It's a story about mortality, what it means to face death while questioning everything that made you who you are. As Johnny's digital imprint starts overwriting your brain, every conversation here becomes a meditation on identity, legacy, and what's worth preserving when time runs out. The genius is how the ticking clock changes everything. Most RPGs give you unlimited time to be whoever you want to be. Here, you're literally dying, and that urgency makes every choice feel weighted. You know, do you embrace Johnny's anarchist philosophy as your own mind fades? Do you fight to preserve who Fee was before the chip? Or do you find some middle ground between two conflicting identities? What I love is how the game never lets you forget that you're sharing headspace with someone who has completely different values, experiences, and goals. Johnny here isn't just offering advice. He's actively trying to convince you that his way of seeing the world is correct. And the terrifying part is, sometimes he's right. With Phantom Liberty included too then, you're getting the complete existential crisis. You know, the DLC doesn't just add content to this narrative, it deepens the central question of what makes you worth saving when your time is running out. By the end, you'll have grappled with mortality in ways most games never attempt. I've played a lot of open world games and most of them feel like theme parks. Pretty to look at, but ultimately hollow. Night City is different. This place breathes. Walk through Japantown and you'll overhear conversations about corporate layoffs spilling out of noodle stands. Climb up to the rooftops in Haywood and strangers are having full arguments about rent prices. Drive through Pacifica and watch how the cops profile you differently dependent on the car you are in and what chrome you are wearing. The verticality here as well is crucial. Most open world games are essentially flat. You might have tall buildings, but they're just scenery. In Night City, those rooftops and balconies are where some of the most important conversations happen. The city isn't just wide, it's deep, and every layer tells a different story about class, power, and survival. What really sells it, though, is the density. This isn't just size for the sake of size. Every district feels distinct, not just visually, but culturally. The corporate cleanliness of the city centre, for example, versus the desperate glamour of the Glen. It tells you everything about the power structures at play here. Keanu Reeves' casting might have sold the headlines, but the actual dynamic between Fee and Johnny Silverhand is one of the most sophisticated character relationships in any RPG. This isn't your typical companion. Johnny is literally in your head, critiquing your choices, arguing with your decisions, challenging your worldview. What makes this work is that Johnny isn't just exposition delivery or comic relief. He's got his own agenda, his own history, his own massive character flaws. He's a terrorist, an egomaniac, and a failed revolutionary all rolled into one digital ghost, and you have to live with him. The genius is that this creates a three-way conversation between you as the player, Fee as the character, and Johnny as this unwanted voice of dissent. You'll find yourself genuinely arguing with him, getting frustrated when he dismisses choices you thought were smart, and grudgingly admitting when his cynicism proves right. By the end of the game, your relationship with Johnny becomes genuinely complicated. You might hate him, respect him, pity him, or all three at once. That is rare in gaming. Most character relationships are much more straightforward. Here's where Cyberpunk really separates itself from other RPGs. Your build choice doesn't just impact how combat feels, they rewrite how entire missions can be approached and solved. Spec internet running. Suddenly, you can ghost through facilities without anyone even knowing you were there. You could override security cameras to create blind spots, hack turrets to turn them against enemies, manipulate elevators and doors to create new paths through levels. It's not just stealth, it's digital manipulation of the environment itself. Go the other direction with a tech build, and you're literally ripping open doors, bypassing security through brute force hacking, turning the environment into a weapon. That locked door the stealth player had to find a way around? Yeah, you just blasted open. Most games promise this kind of systemic design, but fail to deliver. You get different combat animations, but the same basic solutions. Cyberpunk actually follows through. Your character build fundamentally changes how you experience the game world. I am so tired of RPGs where your choices are just different flavors of the same outcome. Cyberpunk remembers everything, and I mean everything. That corpo insult you threw at someone 3 hours ago, it might come back to bite you in a completely different questline. But it's not just major story beats, it's conversational tone, background details, even your implant choices. The game is constantly building this web of cause and effect that makes your playthrough feel genuinely personal. What's really impressive is how visible this system is. You can actually see doors closing, watch as certain options become unavailable, all based on previous choices. It's not hidden behind some black box algorithm. You can feel the weight of your decisions in real time. Few RPGs make consequence this tangible. Usually, you might get a different ending slide or a line of dialogue acknowledging some choice you made. Here, your experience is shaped by the accumulation of dozens of smaller decisions. Dogtown isn't just more content, it's proof that CD Projekt Red finally learned how to make all of their systems work in harmony. The pacing is tighter, the political intrigue more sophisticated, the paranoia more palpable than anything in the base game. What strikes me about Phantom Liberty is how focused it feels. Where the base game sometimes struggled with tonal consistency, bouncing between different types of missions, Dogtown feels like it knows exactly what story it wants to tell. It's more political, more paranoid, more morally complex. The cast here matches Johnny as well in terms of complexity and nuance. These aren't simple allies or enemies, they're people with competing agendas, hidden motivations, and genuine moral complexity. By the time you're deep into the conspiracy, you'll be second-guessing every single conversation and every single alliance. And the technical integration then here is seamless. This doesn't feel like DLC content awkwardly bolted onto the main game. It feels like a natural extension of Night City's story, a deeper dive into the political machinery that keeps this dystopia running. One of my biggest complaints about open world games is how they pad content with meaningless busy work. Cyberpunk takes the opposite approach. Even the smallest side gigs carry genuine narrative weight. Take the sentient vending machine quest, for example. In another game, this would be a throwaway joke. Here it turns into a surprisingly rich exploration of AI consciousness and corporate exploitation. The machine isn't just a gimmick, it has personality, history, genuine thoughts. And this secret mission, found just outside your apartment, they don't even put this on your map, it ends with an absolute gut punch. Then there's the taxi AI conspiracy, where investigating seemingly random fare disputes leads you into this web of algorithmic manipulation and corporate surveillance. These aren't just fetch quests with flavor text, they're complete stories that illuminate different aspects of Night City's dysfunction. The game consistently rewards curiosity. Find a random data shard, it might lead to an entire hidden questline. Follow up on an overheard conversation, you might uncover a conspiracy. Break into that building you noticed in the background, yeah, there's probably a story waiting for you. Quality over quantity actually means something here. I'd rather have a dozen thoughtful, well-crafted stories than 50 generic objectives, and that's exactly what Cyberpunk delivers. Braindances represent something genuinely unique. Investigative sequences where you're literally rewinding through someone else's memories. You're analysing evidence basically in three-dimensional time and space. The genius of these sequences is how they make you complicit in the voyeurism. You're not just watching a cutscene here, you're actively choosing to dig deeper into someone's private moments, their trauma, their secrets. The game makes you work for the information while questioning whether you should be accessing it at all. Technically as well, they're fascinating. You can scrub through time, switch between different sensory inputs, focus on background details that maybe the original experiencer missed. It's investigation that actually requires investigation, not just clicking highlighted objects. But what really sells these sequences is how they advance the plot in ways traditional cutscenes never could. You're not just being told a story, you're actively reconstructing it, piece by piece, making connections the characters themselves might have missed. The build variety in Cyberpunk isn't just cosmetic, it fundamentally changes how you interact with the game world. A netrunner doesn't just fight differently than a street samurai, they exist in the world differently. Play as a hacker, and combat becomes this puzzle game where you're manipulating systems rather than bodies. You can clear entire encounters without firing a shot, turning enemies' own weapons against them, creating chaos through this digital manipulation. It's less about reflexes and more about understanding the systems. Now go for the street samurai with katanas and mantis blades, and suddenly you're playing a character action game. The combat becomes about timing, positioning, and using your enhanced reflexes to dance between enemies. It is immediate, it's brutal, and yet it just feels completely different. Tech builds them, turn you into a walking demolition crew. Locked doors become suggestions, cover becomes temporary obstacles, and your approach to problems become, refreshingly direct. Why sneak around security when you can just blow a hole in the wall? The variety here goes beyond just different animations. Entire encounter design shifts based on how you spec your character. It's the kind of build diversity that other RPGs promise but rarely deliver. The audio design in Cyberpunk deserves way more credit than it gets. This isn't just background music, it's atmospheric storytelling that sells the cyberpunk fantasy as much as the visuals do. The combat music hits with these brutal bass lines that make gunfights feel like warfare, not just simple action movie sequences. There is weight to the violence, urgency to the chaos, but then you'll be walking through Pacifica at night and the ambient tracks become these lonely pieces that perfectly just capture the isolation of this urban wasteland. What really impresses me though is how this music feels genuinely cyberpunk, not just electronic music with a futuristic skin, but something that captures the genre's core emotions. It's dissonant when it needs to be, stylish when it wants to be, and always slightly kind of tragic underneath. The radio stations as well deserve special mention. Each one feels like it exists in this world, playing music that Night City residents would actually listen to. The DJs have personality, the ads between songs are perfect dystopian satire, and the song selection reinforces the game's themes without being heavy-handed about it. One thing that immediately stands out about Cyberpunk is how natural the conversations feel. Characters interrupt each other, reference past events organically, speak like actual people rather than exposition dispensers walking around in character costumes. The writing assumes you're paying attention and rewards that attention with genuine character development. Conversations build on each other, relationships evolve based on your interactions, and characters remember not just what you said but how you said it. What I really appreciate is how the game handles exposition though. Instead of having characters awkwardly explain basic concepts, the world building happens through environmental detail, overheard conversations, data shards you can choose to read or ignore. You're never talked down to or treated like you need everything spelled out. Then the character writing in particular, that shines here. Everyone from main story figures to random NPCs, they feel like they have interior lives that exist beyond their function in this story. They have opinions, histories, relationships that simply don't revolve around fear, and if you're not looking, you won't see it. At the beginning of the game, you get a choice of a background, a life path. And this system, it goes way beyond dialogue flavor text. It's fundamentally changing how Night City reveals itself to you. It's not just conversation options, it's different worlds existing in the same space. You know, you go corpo background, it means you can read between the lines of corporate doublespeak, recognize power plays happening in boardroom conversations. You can navigate office politics that would be invisible to other characters. You can walk into Arasaka Tower as Corpo Fee, and you're not just visiting, you're coming home to a world you understand intimately, even if you have been cast out of it. Street Kid Fee, however, moves through the underbelly with genuine credibility. Gang members recognize you as someone who earned their place rather than brought it. You understand territorial disputes. You know which fixers can be trusted. You can spot undercover cops from blocks away. The same streets that feel threatening to other life paths feel like your own territory. Nomad characters then bring this fascinating outsider perspective where Night City's rules feel foreign. You have connections beyond the city walls. You understand survival in ways urban dwellers never learned, but you're constantly discovering unwritten social codes that everyone else takes for granted. The replayability because of these options is genuine. It's not just the different starting missions, but different night cities entirely. The same location can feel welcoming, hostile, or neutral dependent on who you were before the story began. Your past doesn't just inform dialogue, it actually reshapes the present. The 2.3 update represents something genuinely impressive, a studio that not only fixed their broken game, but continued improving it long after they could have walked away. The auto drive feature here might sound like a gimmick, but it completely changes how you experience this world. Instead of focusing on traffic navigation, you can actually look around, take in the environmental storytelling, enjoy the radio, just relax. It turns travel time into character and world building time. The 4 new vehicles then add variety to your garage, while expanded photo mode gives you more tools to capture Night City's neon-soaked atmosphere. These aren't revolutionary additions, but they're the kind of polish that shows a developer really still cares about their world. I think it also comments on how far they've come over the years. You know, we're beyond now just fixing simple issues with the core game that it originally had at launch. Rather now we're just going to almost nice to haves like auto drives and photo modes. They really love this world. But what really impresses me about this update cycle is the commitment it represents to Nintendo Switch. After initially saying Switch 2 would actually have to wait for the patch, CDPR surprise dropped it just days after other platforms. Really is a perfect example of how far they've come. This is a studio that now under-promises and over-delivers. And looking back at the journey from launch to now as well, it tells the whole story. Patch 1.5 brought the next-gen upgrade. Patch 2.0 completely overhauled the mechanics, and dozens of smaller updates in between added transmog systems, apartment rentals, vehicle customization, police chase mechanics, and the list goes on. What started as an ambitious mess became a genuine achievement through pure persistence. It definitely wasn't there day one. So yeah, this is CD Projekt Red at full maturity, not just patching problems, just building upon the vision they originally promised. The Switch 2 version isn't just a competent port, it's a reimagining of how Cyberpunk should feel. The gyro aiming gives you that precision for long-range shots, while maintaining the option for traditional stick aiming when you need speed over accuracy. But the real game changer is mouse mode. Suddenly, gunplay has desktop-level accuracy on a handheld, making precision shots and quick target switching feel natural rather than clunky. What really sells the implementation, though, is how it's integrated into the Cyberpunk world. Swiping through data shards with a touchscreen makes you feel like you're actually interfacing with Night City's technology. You know, these options, they're not just gimmicky motion controls or other bits for its own sake. It's thoughtful implementation that enhances the core fantasy of being a Cyberpunk character interfacing with digital systems. The mouse mode alone transforms how combat feels, bringing console gunplay closer to the precision PC players have always enjoyed, while the touch controls make navigating Night City's digital landscape feel genuinely futuristic. Alright, so look, is this perfect from a performance perspective? Absolutely not. But I own a Steam Deck and this runs significantly better, and honestly, with how good this game is, what they've achieved here is genuinely impressive. Now the game offers 2 modes. Performance targets 40 FPS, while quality ups the visuals and aims for 30. Both do a decent job of holding their targets, but you will see drops. This is especially true in Dogtown during the Phantom Liberty content, where the density and visual complexity just can push the hardware harder than it wants to go. But here's the thing, none of that matters when you're actually playing. The story hooks you, the world pulls you in, the characters keep you invested. You will notice a frame drop here and there, some actual quite severe ones at moments, but you won't care because everything else about this experience it keeps you moving forward. So those few seconds of pain, worth it. This is proof that handheld gaming can handle genuine technical ambition when developers care enough to optimize properly. And again, it's not that it runs flawlessly on Switch 2, it's that it runs well enough for the vision to shine through. Night City still feels alive. The lighting still impresses. The artistic direction carries you, basically, through any technical rough edges. Sometimes, basically, good enough performance paired with exceptional everything else is better than perfect performance with a compromised experience. So there you have it, 15 reasons why Cyberpunk 2077 on Switch 2 isn't just worth your time. It might be one of the most complete, thoughtful RPG experiences available anywhere. This isn't the same game either that launched in 2020. It's not the Punchline anymore, it's the comeback story. Because what CD Projekt Red has delivered here isn't just a technical feat, it's a creative redemption, a dystopian vision that finally matches its ambition. Cyberpunk started as a cautionary tale. Today it's a landmark, not because it launched perfectly, but because it dared to finish the job. Night City is alive now. Its people, its systems, its stories, they all work in unison. And the fact that you can hold that entire world in your hands, play it on the go, and still have it hit this hard, it's not just impressive, it's poetic. So if you walked away before, this version quietly says, you were right to wait, but now, believe the hype. So let me know in the comments, are you diving back in or starting fresh? And if you found this helpful, hit subscribe for more daily Switch content. Alright, wake the hell up, Samurai. You've got a city to explore.